It's in something now.
Oh, a story like that's got to be true.
Yeah, it's because I saw it. I actually saw it.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Howdy.
And we're going to continue our series of Best of the Years that we've been alive, and it's going to be 2006 this year.
Your baby is the miracle the whole world's been waiting for.
The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for is everything.
Go away, Baton!
A real loser is somebody that's so afraid of not winning, they don't even try.
Harold would brush each of his 32 teeth 76 times.
I like to picture Jesus in a tuxedo t-shirt because it says, like, I want to be formal, but I'm here to party, too. Because I like to party, so I like my Jesus to party.
Pay strict attention to what I say because I choose my words carefully and I never repeat myself.
You're gonna love me.
He is my neighbor, Nur Sultan Tuliakbay. He is paining my assholes.
Everybody wants to be us.
I'm gonna have a smoke right now. You want to smoke? You don't smoke, do you? Right? What do you want, all those fitness freaks, huh? Go fuck yourself.
Thank God we're no longer talking about 2005.
I know.
Yeah, 2005, a terrible year, obviously, but a lot to talk about.
We did have a lot more to say than I expected.
Yeah.
But there's more that I really like in 2006.
Yeah, 2006 has got a lot of, like, pretty good heavy hitters here. What should we start off with? The Best Picture, The Departed, is what came out in 2006. It was a remake of Infernal Affairs.
Yes.
Which is also a very good movie.
It
If
is.
you haven't seen the original of that, it's really good. I think The Departed might be better, though.
I have only seen the original once, and it was after I'd seen The Departed, which probably gives me a bias.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's not a subtitles thing. I eat some subtitles for breakfast. It's just, I think The Departed, it may just be the actors, because it has such a heavy-hitting cast.
Yeah.
This is one of the most stacked casts of high-quality actors ever.
Oh, yeah.
Alec Baldwin, Martin Sheen, Leo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, and I could stop there.
Yeah.
And my statement is true.
Yeah.
I would watch, you could take almost any of those characters and give them a spin-off movie, and I would watch it.
Well, they're doing a TV show, right?
Well, I don't think it's going to be based on, like, a spin-off. I think it's just going to be the same concept stretched out over a season instead of, because we have no original ideas anymore.
I was a little disappointed that this was the movie that Martin Scorsese finally got his Oscar on.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's great, and I think that he's doing his normal great job in this too. I mean, especially scene that I always go back to that's like just as Scorsese as hell is when DiCaprio is chasing Damon through the after the porno theater and everything. There's so many Scorsese things in that that's just like gives you your geek boner, you know what I mean? But like it's just such a good movie, but at the same time I was like, man, you guys stiffed him for years and years and years, and it finally took a movie that made over $100 million at the box office for you to finally say, okay, I guess he's best director, you know, like he's done so many great movies. You just didn't give it to him. But anyway, I still think The Departed's great. So
yeah, I do too. If you like filthy dialogue that's super quotable, The Departed is for you.
Absolutely.
I think I finally picked my single favorite line reading, and it's when the Martin Sheen and Wahlberg are like giving Nicholson shit at the dock right before he gets on the boat with the nuns or whatever, and he's like, "Wouldn't you rather wipe my ass for me?" I think that's my favorite.
Well, and like all the like just like outrageous racist stuff that people just get away with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely insane how much they get away with, but it's a little bit refreshing because a lot of times, they pull the punches and they say that coded language and everything. I'd rather you just come right out and say what you mean.
Yeah.
And these are characters.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a movie. That's not a real guy. Like, Jack Nicholson does not say those words in real life.
Right.
I presume he does not.
Exactly. So the Best Picture nominees that year were The Departed, Little Miss Sunshine, The Queen, Babel, and Letters from Iwo Jima. So wasn't a heavy-hitting...
Babel got nominated for Best Picture?
Yes, it did.
That's on my do not like list.
Well, and same here. That was kind of a strange year. Because, I liked The Queen. I thought The Queen was all right. I just didn't ever think it was bad. I thought that was Helen Mirren was great. And whatever. Letters from Iwo Jima seemed to be the Clint Eastwood train that kept coming through in the mid-aughts.
Yeah.
I thought Letters from Iwo Jima was a good movie. I just didn't know if it was the best picture.
Well, even Little Miss Sunshine, I love. I love it more than a lot of people who like it, but I still don't think Best Picture nominee when I think of that movie.
Yeah, they were trying to, I guess, get some diversity in there.
I guess. It's a great little indie movie if you've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it a couple weeks back. All right.
Yeah. Did we talk about Little Miss Sunshine as a part of that year?
We just talked about it in that scene, that last scene, as being like this triumphant, beautiful moment.
Yeah. It was the moment. It wasn't really the movie itself. I don't like this movie as much as a lot of people I know. I don't think it's bad. I've just been kind of like, I'm okay with it. It's kind of like that. I love Steve Carell in it. I think he's great in it, and Alan Arkin always is great too. Yeah. But I think possibly I was just tired of these dysfunctional family type of movies at the time for whatever reason, and just like, oh, here's more of that. Look at that bad grandpa and the put upon wife and all this other type of stuff. And I was just getting tired of that type of stuff. But still, pretty good movie.
Yeah, Abigail Breslin is great in it. Really, every bit of it works. Toni Collette and Greg Kinnear and everybody. And you mentioned Steve Carell. This is, I guess, his first big dramatic kind of turn, even though this is a comedy. He plays a very depressed guy.
He does.
That is gay. His boyfriend or his lost lover is the best Proust scholar in the world, and he's the second best.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird reason to kind of onset that depression, but it's
but
great.
It connects. It feels real. I think I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Paul Dano or Paul Dano?
I think it's Paul Dano.
He's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have dialogue for 3/4 of the movie, but he's pretty riveting to watch. And then, of course, when he does start talking again for somewhat tragic reasons from his perspective, kind of a gut punch for me. I was like, man, I feel really, really shitty for that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is one of those movies that when I saw it, I was like, I really like that. I need to show my wife. And that's kind of rare because my wife and I don't have the same tastes. But I do think most people would enjoy this movie.
Yeah. It's a crowd pleaser.
So you had Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris, who I believe did Smashing Pumpkin videos and stuff like that back in the 90s. And it was weird to see them make this kind of a movie. Yeah. Because that thing, Red Hot Chili Peppers, REM, were some bands that they
all of them do great videos.
Yeah, but anyway, what else is on the docket?
Well, we mentioned The Prestige. I think we should probably talk about that.
Yeah,
man, do I love this movie?
Me too. I think I tweeted a couple months ago, what is Christopher Nolan's best movie and why is it The Prestige? Every time I've seen this maybe 12 or 13 times at this point. Every time I watch it, I find new reasons to appreciate it. The staging of this film's story, I'm convinced it was scripted to be all out of sequence, and this wasn't just like some editing revelation when they got, let get all out of sequence. It hits the beats perfectly because he's hopping back and forth in time and changing perspectives. I just, there's so much intelligence behind this movie. That's why I'm a Christopher Nolan fan.
Yeah. It all coalesces. It all fits together. Even though you jump, it doesn't jar you at all. It all makes sense and it all fits in, especially at the end, obviously.
Yeah. It all leads to that, the last 10 minutes or so. And even though you're kind of thinking it, you haven't really accepted it yet.
Yeah.
But man, do I love this movie. What do you guys think?
It's based on a book, and I don't know how the book. I'd never read the book on this one. I don't know how it went, if it went back and forth like this movie does and everything. Nolan does like to do that quite a bit. He likes to have those people having a soliloquy of some sort or whatever, and you see Christian Bale in jail and here's what's happening right now. It's kind of like mini montages that he likes to throw in his movies and everything. But yeah, it's one of these movies that like it brings so many like fun ideas about magic that we don't really ever consider.
Right.
And it's part of the plot of it is, you know, the commitment that the Asian man has when he's like, you know, he's like pretending to be old everywhere, you know, like and so in like. And just the fact that they're killing the canary and having another one, like you never think about that type of stuff. And there's that great scene too where the little kid is like, oh, you killed it. He's like, no, it's right here. He's like, but what happened to its brother?
He's a sharp one.
Yeah.
These guys utterly destroy each other.
Yes.
Oh, man. They're just so wrapped up in it.
It's crazy.
They both wrote fake diaries to fuck with the other one.
Right.
That's the level of commitment
They
there.
each want to be the best magician in the world. But more than that, they want to be better than that other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drives everything that happens in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Their performances are so great. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen Hugh Jackman, outside of maybe some Wolverine moments, be more engaging.
No, absolutely not.
There.
This is his best performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is his best. And we have a turn from David Bowie, who I did not even know was David Bowie for a really long time. I remember seeing the opening credits. I was like, oh, David Bowie's in this. And then I forgot about it. And I saw him and I just saw his character as Tesla. And I was just kind of like, okay, that's this guy.
Oh, he's got such a great, like, clipped European accent
Yes.
that doesn't make you sound like David Bowie.
Yeah.
And talk about a spinoff. I would totally watch a David Bowie, Andy Serkis spinoff.
Oh, yeah, man. That would be awesome. Just them inventing crazy shit that doesn't exist.
Just locked away in Colorado.
This is just a great combination of mood, story, acting, all that. Everything's perfect about it. Did nothing though at the box office and really got no love at all. And maybe I don't know if I've run into anybody outside of our circle who loves it. I mean, I knew people at the movie theater and stuff who loved it, but I would say out of this podcast, if you haven't seen The Prestige, this is the one I'm going to recommend you go watch.
Out of this whole year, probably would be my highest.
If you haven't seen it yet, that is a movie that you must see, and we won't spoil it for you.
And don't get me wrong, you can understand it on your first viewing.
Uh-huh.
When I'm talking about how much there is to appreciate and how I see new things every time, that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as though the movie ended and I was like, what? And I had to watch it again. Like, you get everything you're supposed to get, but it's one of the most rewatchable movies. Not just like when I rewatch The Martian, I'm enjoying it. When I rewatch The Prestige, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to pay attention.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention, and it makes you think. It makes you hold on, and it makes you want to pay attention to the next one. It's like, what are they going to do next?
Yep.
You know?
Yep, absolutely. What else?
I want to run through the top 10 of this year because it's pretty much a garbage job. The number one movie of 2006 was Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest.
Ooh.
Christ.
An awful, awful experience.
We were all duped.
It's the second best Pirates movie, though.
Oh,
That's not even a discussion worth having.
I actually,
that series, not pirate movie.
I actually
overall.
put it dead last, and mainly for that Johnny Depp interlude that they throw in there,
That wacky
In the
island
where
adventure.
he's like in the purgatory or whatever, and it's like, you really like Johnny Depp, so we're gonna give you 50 times the Depp on this one. And it's a fucking long movie,
Yes,
and
it
then
is.
this happens, and you're like, it's not as amusing as you think it is.
No, I don't even think it's amusing like at all unless you're 5.
Yeah.
No, the moment that Jack Sparrow proverbially jumped the shark is where he's got this necklace of toes around him, and he starts biting the toenail.
Mhm.
I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Number 2 was Night at the Museum. It's okay. I think I still think it's on the garbage side.
It is very much a kid's movie.
Yeah.
You got to have kids or be a kid to really appreciate it. But it's fun enough, I guess.
Yeah. This is where I thought Pixar may have wavered a bit on their winning streak, and that was Cars.
Mm-hmm.
Cars came out in 2006. It's pretty good. It's actually not as bad as now the sequel.
Oh, Jesus.
Fucking awful. But this one was the first, I felt like the first time I ever felt people really not liking a Pixar movie was this one. Even though there had been other ones in the past that Bug's Life wasn't high on a lot of people's lists, even though Bug's Life is still pretty good.
I do love that moment when he's fixed all the neon and the road's repaved and the lights come on at night and that song is playing.
Yeah.
Life would be a dream.
Yeah.
And they're all cruising along the road.
Yeah.
That gives me happy goosebumps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the more forgettable ones. I happen to like it more than most, but it's not the shit pile everybody says it is.
Yeah. Then there was X-Men: The Last Stand, which we all know that, basically told Fox to like, let's regroup on this shit.
Yeah. That's when they started like coming up with classifications for mutants and everything. It's like, and everybody suddenly knows like that's the most powerful class 5 mutant I've ever run into.
By the way, speaking of that, I just read yesterday that there are rumors in Hollywood that Fox is thinking about rebooting the X-Men franchise again.
Really? Wow.
Because they can only get 1 or 2 good movies out of any attempt, apparently, and then the third one sucks. And apparently what they want to do is reboot it, but still somehow talk Jennifer Lawrence and Fassbender and Professor X to come back, but still call it like a reboot somehow.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, that one made me smile.
Now, I may have liked X-Men: The Last Stand a little bit better than most people, but it's still not good.
Okay.
Like there were moments in it that I was just like, oh, okay, I can get on board. But like,
Ian McKellen is really having fun.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you just kind of like, okay, he's running with it. He knows it's junk.
Is it that one where he's like, you will not be safe?
Yeah, I think so.
Your children.
Well,
will
let's not
be
forget
safe.
the most ridiculous part of this is just him like, let's take the entire Golden Gate Bridge and throw it on Alcatraz and oh my God. Number 5 was The Da Vinci Code, not a good movie.
Poop.
Number 6, Superman Returns, not a good movie.
More poop.
Number 7 was Happy Feet. I didn't like Happy Feet.
No.
Elijah Wood hates you now.
Yeah,
is that the Elijah
he
Wood
does.
one?
Yeah, I think so.
There were like 2 animated Penguin movies that same year.
Yeah, I think George Miller did this.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
He either did this one or he was like involved with it. I think he directed Happy Feet.
I think you're right.
Then there's Ice Age: The Meltdown. Man, this is come on.
That's ridiculous.
And then finally we get to one that was good. The reboot of Bond, Casino Royale.
Yeah.
This really brought Bond back, but it was also what Bond movies had done throughout the years. They said, what's popular now? Oh, Jason Bourne is. Let's make this movie like Bourne. And so it becomes a better movie because of it. It's a real nice, dark, sleek type of movie. We had never seen Bond like this before, really. I mean, it wasn't so many like cracky one-liner type of thing. It was like it was like, Daniel Craig is like, I am not to be trifled with.
You know what it is? This is going to sound weird, but they made Bond like sensual again.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't just like, oh, he's sleeping with every, female that comes in the frame. It's actually like, he really like wants to pursue this certain type of woman, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it pays off, certainly, because he's got that kind of like raw sexual type of charisma.
Yeah.
I don't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Daniel Craig as Bond. I just don't think they've made a movie with him as Bond that I can get solidly behind. Skyfall would be up there if it wasn't so goddamn ridiculous. But I do like him as Bond. I like the grittier, more real-seeming James Bond and not the superhero-seeming James Bond.
Well, and Casino Royale is also like 30 minutes too long,
yeah,
too.
For sure.
Like it gets to that point where it's like it feels like it's pretty much ended, and then there's the whole switcheroo with the money and all that, and Ava Green dies, and like
Vesper.
and it's like, all right, let's and then let's spend the next 4 movies have him whining about it.
Seriously.
So it's like it's part origin story and then part like just movie like Lord of the Rings Return of the King where it never ends.
That first scene is great though.
Oh yeah, first scene's great. So and that just goes to show what the box office was kind of like. So go on. What else we want to talk about?
We got to talk about Children of Men.
Yes,
we do.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is Alfonso Cuarón, who does Gravity after this, who did the Harry Potter movie before this.
Yep.
And this is set in the future where nobody can have kids anymore.
Yeah.
And eventually, now we know the extinction date, basically, of humanity. It's a post-apocalyptic kind of feeling movie, basically. You've got essentially Reavers from Serenity out there in the woods. One of my favorite Michael Caine performances ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Happy strawberry tinged marijuana smoking.
Yeah, mega hippie.
I call it strawberry cough.
Pull my finger.
But
Pull
yeah,
my
what
finger.
a great concept, just to have, nobody can have children anymore. You have one pregnant woman, and she's a mystery to everybody. And Clive Owen's job is to protect her and make sure that nothing happens. And in the events of this, there are 3 action scenes, are the how to do action scenes in a movie.
Absolutely.
And I wish more people would follow the lead of this movie. And perhaps if it had made a lot more money, it would would have been something that people followed. I think most people love this movie, but there hasn't been enough influence, I don't think, with studios or directors with how to make action scenes, and this is the perfect way to do it.
This is the tensest fucking movie I've ever seen.
Yes,
it's tense as hell,
and that's because of those scenes.
Well, that one, that now infamous one shot in the car where they get attacked in the woods and they're backing up, and one of them in the car dies, and you can't help but think about how many times did they have to do this to get this right? Because there's like 50 or more elements in motion, and the camera's moving back and forward and around and looking out the front and the back, and it's just artistry. I don't care if he faked it and spliced it in the middle someplace where I didn't notice. It makes that scene so fucking tense.
Yeah. It doesn't let you off the hook. I mean, you're just clenched up. It's very much what he did with Gravity later on, but in a completely different context. You're white knuckling it almost all the way through.
Yeah. And it feels like, the time you spend with Clive Owen in this movie is you feel it with him. And by the end of it, when he's on the boat and he's like, hell of a day, you're like, everybody laughed because it's like, I've been holding my breath for the last 2 hours. It's one of those type of movies. It's so fucking good.
Well, and he's a redeeming character in the sense that in the beginning, he's pretty aloof about everything, right? He only gets wrapped up in this because of his old college rebellious friend, Julianne Moore, who trusts him and needs somebody she can trust. And at that time, all he thinks he's got to do is go with her to this farm. Then he finds out she's pregnant and that she says he's the only one she can trust. And then other shit happens, and he gets more and more involved. But by the end, I don't think he's conflicted at all. He's doing what he knows he has to do, which is, I think, a pretty big arc for that guy.
Considering what was nominated for Best Picture, this is a snub.
This is a snub for sure. I would say The Prestige is as well.
Yeah.
Considering how much I hate Babel.
Yeah.
I saw it. I can't even tell you anything about Babel. That's how much I hated it.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it either, and that's Alejandro G. Inarritu, who's also part of that Three Amigos crew and everything. I didn't like Babel at all. I thought there was some good performances in it and everything, but overall it was a very forgettable movie. I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I remember Brad Pitt on a phone. That's all I remember. And also part of that Three Amigos crew, Guillermo del Toro did Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. You don't like this very
and I'm
much,
not.
right?
Well, I like it. I just thought that it was fawned over. Did not mean that. Pun not intended. But I thought it was more praised than it should have been. Like, it was a visual treat, much like Guillermo del Toro usually does. Like, everything he does looks great.
Yep.
And there's like one great scene in it to me, one great scene of fantasy. And then like a couple of, it's not really that much of a fantasy movie. It's more about the war.
Yeah, hardly at all. Yeah. It was a completely different. If you go in there looking at the poster and looking at the guy with the eyes in his hands and everything, you're getting a totally different movie.
So that's probably what contributed to it. Although I did watch it later on and said, okay, I should have said that I liked this movie at least.
It's probably his best movie.
Oh, definitely his best movie that I've seen anyway. I mean, there's a lot of like older ones that people swear by, but I like it. I remember when it came out, it just seemed like there was this universal like praise for it that I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's a good movie.
We had 2 9/11 World Trade Center related movies.
Yes,
came
we
out
did.
This year. One was United 93 by Paul Greengrass.
Yeah.
And one was Oliver Stone's World Trade Center.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that one first because it's in my opinion, the worst one, because it's basically Nicolas Cage under rubble for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's depressing in a non-entertaining way.
Mm.
United 93, I had to gear myself up to even watch it, because it came out, this is 2006, so it's still pretty fresh. And because you know what happens, and because Greengrass chooses not to show you those money shots that you've come to expect when people talk about 9/11. In fact, one of the most tense moments, you're looking at like a radar screen in the FAA headquarters or what have you. God, you talk about tense. I think this movie's tenser than Children of Men.
This is definitely one of the tensest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Bar none. And you're talking about that radar scene and talking about how he doesn't show these, so-called money shots and everything.
Yeah, that was probably a poor choice of words.
Well, I don't know. What else do you call it? I mean, that's exploitative when you do show those type of things.
Yeah.
Instead, he does something which I believe is way more effective, and that is to show that radar thing and then show the plane disappear, and you hear the faintest of in the background. And you know what happened. You have it in your head. You don't need to see it again.
Exactly.
And he does it so well. And to see these people on the plane, like coming up with their plans and like trying to figure out what are they going to do and all that. And then just say, fuck it. We have to do this, whatever. It has, at the ending of this movie is just, it's both heartbreaking, heroic, and like a whole mixture of emotions thrown into one. Cause you're just like, this is one of those things where you don't know really after you just think about it for like hours after it's over.
What a balancing act to take this content and make it watchable
and heroic
and not exploitative.
Yeah.
Well, and part of the reason it works, maybe one of the only reasons it works so well, is that he didn't cast a Nicolas Cage or some Brad Pitt or somebody in these roles that, except for one face, I don't think I'd seen any of them in anything that I remembered them from. And so you are subconsciously feeling like these are real people, as opposed to just people play acting. Anyway.
Yeah, and they even got the very guy, the boss, the guy at was the head of the FAA at the time. They got the actual guy who was down on the ground he was like, because he was the one who made the call. Let's land all the planes and everything like that. They actually got that the guy, and and he basically was just doing what he did that day and everything. That's another thing. They show a lot of the stuff that's happening on the ground. And just I think most movies do this thing like it was just another ordinary day.
Yeah.
And they try to throw in all this stuff that's very just like, I don't know what to call it. It's they force it down your throat. This feels more like they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that's coming up to them is like new information to them. So anyway, this is very good movie. I don't think it's exploitative, and it's if you I don't know. It's just it's very good.
Yeah, it's hard to recommend, but
right.
I mean, you kind of would, I guess.
Yeah. I would recommend watching it if you are if you don't want. I mean, if you don't want to rehash all that, then obviously you don't want to watch it. But a really good movie. Anyway, what else?
I'll take a hard right turn into some comedies.
Do it.
One of my favorite of this type of movie is Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
I think for whatever reason, this movie hit me on every level, even more so than Anchorman, I think.
It's weird because I would almost borderline call this one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies.
Yeah.
And I could give a rat's ass about NASCAR. And the comedy isn't really coming from the NASCAR elements anyway.
Right.
But John C. Reilly almost steals this movie. When Will Ferrell and him have that split, and he calls him, and he's like, "Why are you watching TV and listening to the radio at the same time?" And he misses no beats because I like to party. It's quotable as hell.
Yes, yeah. This is really funny stuff here. And I also love the turn from Sacha Baron Cohen in this as well. And it gets and there's so many like ridiculous moments that I appreciate and everything. Like Sacha Baron Cohen said something like, he wants Ricky Bobby to beat him so that he can retire and have a farm with dogs and cats on it or whatever. And Will Ferrell's like, that's dumb. And he's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. and like the whole thing with them running across the finish line and the announcers going like, well, it's totally illegal and it'll never count, but it's great, right?
Yeah. Well, that part where they talk about how he's over commercialized his car and even sold the windshield. And he cuts right to Will Ferrell going, boy, this obstructs my view, but I do love Fig Newtons.
Oh man, all those scenes with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell are just gold. Like when he comes to the last race and he's like, Carl, I'm sorry. And he's like, well, I don't know what kind of magic you're trying to work right now, but I'm going to stand here and look tough until I work this shit out. You know?
Don't they run like some bloopers at the end of some of the extra takes from like I like to picture Jesus? I just remember John C. Reilly going, I like to think of Jesus as an angry badger.
Well, there's one about like funerals or something like that, like at the end, and John C. Reilly's like something like having your dead body spill out just ain't cool or something like that. I can't. It's whatever it is. It's something like it's something ridiculous, and it's just ain't cool. Just ain't cool.
Don't you stick that knife in your leg, Ricky Bobby.
Speaking of Sacha Baron Cohen, Borat came out, and this was really only ever going to work once, right?
Not that he didn't try it more times.
He tried to do it with Bruno later, but once the sort of the surprise of all this, once this became a huge hit and everything, there was really no chance for him to go and remine the Ali G show for characters that he had created on HBO anymore, because everybody was like, okay, they got into it more at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he still was able to kind of do it with Bruno, but Borat is really funny. And I think it got way overexposed because everybody had to do those lines over and over and over again. But it's sort of it's a great movie because it shows kind of what America is like when they take their guard down.
Yeah.
And that's where all the humor is coming from. And this guy who's just like, I'm not here. Don't worry about what I think. He's just sort of like there to egg them on with whatever they have.
Yeah, and it's not pranky. Like you and I both don't like prankish stuff.
It is a little Tom Greeny though.
A little bit, and it gets right to the level, because I don't like that stuff, but like it gets right to the level of uncomfortableness, but like he plays it off so well that I think it ends up working. Like when he's out at the rodeo and he's like, "We support your war of terror," and everyone's like, "Yeah!"
When you said speaking of and went to this, I thought you were going to say Stranger Than Fiction, because Will Ferrell is in both Talladega Nights and Stranger Than Fiction.
Well, and Stranger Than Fiction is great.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It's a super high concept, like basic dramedy. For this guy wakes up one day, leads a boring, mundane life, and suddenly he hears somebody narrating everything he's doing, and it's Emma Thompson who's writing a book, and Dustin Hoffman is fucking hysterical in this movie.
Great
as a shrink that Will Ferrell tries to get help from. Maggie Gyllenhaal's in this as somebody that he's trying to audit through his IRS work, but then they start to kind of maybe fall for each other. Just fucking charming and weird, man. I fucking love this movie.
This was a script that I believe had a bidding war for years, and it sold for a pretty good price. And then when it was made, of course, there was like, oh, this is your $4 or $5 million script, huh, or whatever, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. But it has a lot of. I love the concept of it. There's that great line too where Ferrell is like trying to figure out what he is in this story, and Dustin Hoffman's like, "Well, I just found out you're not a golem. Aren't you glad that you're not a golem?"
In that way that only he can say it.
Yeah.
Now, if I had somebody narrating my life, I probably would pick Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
She was great in that role. Everybody's great. Queen Latifah's in this movie, and she's great. If you've never seen it, I bet a bunch of you have never even heard of it, because it didn't do much. It doesn't have a huge cult following, but I adore this movie, and I would 2 thumbs up.
Another little recommend here. All right, so then we have some testosterone movies. Apocalypto. Mel Gibson had stuck his foot in his mouth during this year, and so Apocalypto, when it hit theaters, it crash landed.
But I love it.
But it's great.
I love it so much.
Yeah. It's a great movie, and I've run into a lot of people since this came out that have found it over the years.
Do you think it would have done like gangbusters if he hadn't done all that bullshit though? I mean, it's in like ancient Mayan.
I
right?
think he would have been able to market it and go on the circuit and be able to, talk about it
without being asked about his comments.
Oh yeah,
and
totally.
and get people hyped for it. No, I don't think it would have done Braveheart business or anything like that.
You are talking about a movie filmed entirely in an ancient language, with subtitles barely there. But that's why I like it. It's sort of that. There's something about Mel, like even when he made Passion of the Christ, he was so committed to like using Aramaic and like the actual language that they used instead of like trying to make it dumbed down for audience. I kind of respect that attempt at realism.
Yeah, and this also has that. I believe it's the trailer has that weird like one frame shot of him standing next to one of his natives. Do you remember this?
No.
If you watch the trailer for Apocalypto, there's a one frame like blip. It's like maybe even faster than that of him standing next to one of his natives at the studio with a big cigar and huge beard.
What the fuck?
And he's just like,
why would you cut that into a trailer?
It's just
it's like a Tyler Durden
an
thing.
Easter egg thing. Now, maybe it wasn't in the main trailer, but it was definitely in like something
That's goofy as hell.
Yeah. Now, this is one of those things, Barrett. If you in your research find that this wasn't in the actual trailer, it's in something. Though.
Oh, a story like that's got to be true.
Yeah, it's because I saw it. I actually saw it. So if you don't find this, then I've like been like Inception or something like that. What else, guys?
I'm showing Alpha Dog.
Oh yeah,
yes,
which was Nick Cassavetes, right? And of course, we just lost Anton Yelchin, and this is maybe his best performance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
he is. I think I told you guys this. I may have said it on the podcast, but when I saw Alpha Dog for the first time after he had died, and I didn't realize this the first viewing, that those opening baby photos are all the actors.
Oh yeah,
they're real baby photos, and so you see baby on Anton Yelchin there, and of course he's 15 in the movie, but he's just a baby that gets the short end of the stick. This is a huge cast.
Yeah,
this is a filthy movie. It's violent. One drug dealer, Ben Foster, owes money to another drug dealer, Emil Hirsch, and Emil Hirsch decides to kidnap his younger brother. But it's not really a kidnapping because he's being held by Justin Timberlake, who's super awesome and gives him weed and helps him get laid and all this other stuff. So that for the kid, for most of the movie, he's just having fun.
Yeah.
And doesn't ever believe anything bad is going to come of this. My brother will pay the money, he keeps saying. But what a tragic movie.
Great performances.
Yeah.
Ben Foster is terrifying.
Yes, he is.
In
He
this
really
movie.
legitimately is.
I mean,
he screams upstairs on the phone when Emil Hirsch calls him. He sounds like the devil.
Yeah,
You're scared of him.
He's like, you hear all these stories about Steve Smith in the NFL of like, he's got this white hot rage in him that like if you tap into, it doesn't matter how tough you are, like you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like when I watch Ben Foster's performance in this.
Yeah. And look, I mean, the cast is absolutely huge. Bruce Willis is in this. Sharon Stone is in this.
Olivia Wilde. Amanda Seyfried.
Yep.
And Timberlake does a great job too.
Yeah.
He really,
this is
really
one of the
knocks us
early
out.
performances where you're like, this guy's got some acting talent too. This movie also went through a little bit of litigation, I think, because this is based on a true story. And it wasn't, I don't think it was the movie necessarily that was in trouble, but the people who were giving the filmmakers the facts were giving them stuff that shouldn't have come out yet.
Oh.
And so like I think that was some stuff that kept this movie from getting a release for a really long time too.
Interesting.
You read up on the story. It's pretty interesting thing about Alpha Dog, but yeah, really good movie.
Really good.
Also in 2006, The Devil Wears Prada.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I do too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's breezy. But I really like it. I feel like it doesn't have a great reputation. Like it's just considered mostly harmless. But when I'm flipping channels and I see it, I often stop.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep is it Meryl Streep?
Yeah.
Yep.
Meryl Streep is awesome in this movie. Anne Hathaway's plenty good, but she's basically just the canvas for everybody else to play off of. This is one of the first times I ever saw Adrian Grenier in a non-entourage role. And he has a small throwaway role as the boyfriend. But, just a really good story about a girl who wants to get this prestigious internship, even though she doesn't give a shit about fashion, based on a book.
Yeah, about Anna Wintour.
Yeah,
right?
based on Anna Wintour. And And it's just fun. I just really enjoy it.
The only thing about this movie that bothered me a little bit was that it was swimming with sharks all over again.
Yeah.
And swimming with sharks, for whatever reason, has never gotten its due. Devil Wears Prada makes tons of money, and then,
Well, I mean, Swimming with Sharks got dark, and this didn't get nearly as dark as that.
But when I saw people fawning over it and everything, like, come on, at least bring the movie up.
Yeah.
Because it's almost the exact same thing. It's somebody going in trying to get a year's worth of internship, blah 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 blah, and like the boss is unreasonable. Like the whole scene, which is funny in Devil Wears Prada, where like she has to get the next Harry Potter book that hasn't even been published yet to her daughters and everything. That's exactly like in Swimming with Sharks, where he's tearing up all the magazines that have the bad article about him. Still, yes, enjoyable movie. I don't want to take away from it, and like as a good movie, it is. Also in 2006, Idiocracy came out.
And no one saw it.
Well, famously, didn't get a theatrical release anywhere except like 3 cities, and it wasn't New York or L.A.
Was it Texas?
I think Texas may have gotten one, but it was like random spots. I have no clue to this day what happened with Idiocracy and like why the studio decided to release the movie this way, or why they didn't just come out with it on straight to video if they were so worried about it. But
that's crazy. Mike Judge had a great hitting streak up until then.
Yeah, although
I know Office Space didn't do a lot in the theaters, but none
of his movies had ever done anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a cult hit. He's kind of like Kevin Smith in that way, where like a lot of people like him, but not everybody.
Was King of the Hill still on at this point, though?
Mm-hmm,
so that was, it was never as big as The Simpsons, but that was a pretty big hit for a while.
Yeah, it was. But I don't think a lot of people associated Mike Judge with great movies or anything.
No,
like it was right. Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill and everything, but like, people liked Office Space, but like your next Mike Judge movie that comes out isn't going to be. But here, it's really the studio's fault, I believe. They come out with it in some bigger cities and like a little bit. And this has become a cult hit over the years, and because of the what we're living in now and everything. It just a lot of the things in Idiocracy just seem like they're coming true. And
enough so that anyone who feels like society is getting dumber is going to enjoy the exaggerated version of that in this movie.
Yes.
The first time I saw it, I didn't really enjoy it that much. And maybe I just wasn't upset with the world around me enough at that point in life. But now I saw it like a few weeks ago, and I was laughing my ass off.
I had the exact same experience. I didn't like it because I was also kind of primed for like the Beavis and Butthead humor, which I guess it taps into, and like the Office Space type of humor. And this is putting his foot on the accelerator. And he doesn't let any of the characters off the hook. Dax Shepard is just a fucking moron.
Yeah.
And he's going to drive that point in.
Yeah. But I love it. I mean, you have Luke Wilson, you have Maya Rudolph, you have Terry Crews, and a great I believe this is where we got the Terry Crews we got today, was from this Hector Camacho, President Hector Camacho character or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it really, when you're looking around, and I don't want to make this political or anything, but when you're looking around like on TV and you see the reality shows and you see, the type of things that we value in this society and all of other type of stuff, you start thinking, is it too far off?
Yeah.
I don't think Ow My Balls is too far off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, we're willing to watch almost anything.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, that's another movie. If you haven't seen that, that's definitely worthwhile.
How about a movie I think you guys both love, Inside Man?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Love that.
This is Spike Lee, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's Denzel, Jodie Foster, and Clive Owen again.
Yeah.
Clive Owen had a good year.
Yeah, he did.
And this is my favorite time to say, this ain't no bank robbery. But I really like this movie. It is not like your typical bank heist movie.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so enjoyable.
That's got to be Spike Lee. I mean, it's not like any Spike Lee movie I've ever seen.
That's
too.
true, but I do feel like he approached it in a way that a lot of other directors wouldn't have. They would have made it a lot more straightforward. And I think the movie only works as well as it does because it's so not straightforward.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the addition of somebody like Jodie Foster that just kind of comes out of nowhere but really changes the whole narrative. And what a freaking ending to this, man. It gets me every time.
Yep. It's amazing.
And look, and this is a movie that you could very well say may have been made with that ending in mind. But everything leading up to it is fantastic, entertaining, great, all that type of stuff. So you don't feel cheated by the end of it.
I love a movie that can more than 3 or 4 times throughout get me speculating on what could be happening, only to show me something that proves my theory wrong. So I come up with another theory and then I'm wrong. That's sort of the way the movie's built. It's supposed to make you feel that way.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And you're right. Spike Lee, this is a totally different movie for him. He is doing a full-on studio picture here. This isn't like, any kind of like indie movie or any movie that's going to like, get everybody in an uproar or anything like that. This is just solid entertainment, and it's great.
Yeah, it really doesn't have a lot of subtext to it. It's interesting that Denzel is probably like my least favorite part of this movie because he's just hotshot cop, with this thing hanging over his head.
Yeah.
There's, some silly things in there where he like plays the recording over the loudspeakers in the van so that somebody can recognize it as being
what
Armenian.
Language is this?
What language is this? Just put it on. Everybody, somebody
It's Armenian or something.
Yeah, right. A movie that I think has gotten a following over the years, and this could very well make it the most the best video game adaptation is Silent Hill.
Yeah,
and the movie is just gorgeous to look at. And it's got that creepiness to it and everything. Now, I don't know if I'm as high on it as the people who have like become big, huge followers of this movie, but it is worth considering as one of the best video game adaptation movies that have been made.
I agree. Yeah. When I actually watched it with my wife, who is not into video games, is not into horror films and anything like that, and we ended up enjoying it.
Well, and it was written by Roger Avery, who was he was co-writer on Pulp Fiction and all that, and he did Rules of Attraction.
Yeah.
It was Silent Hill is just one of those movies. It's got that mood perfectly set. What else, guys?
What did you guys think about Mission Impossible 3?
Okay, so everybody seems to think that was a return to form, and I thought it was pretty bland.
Yeah.
Really? It's definitely a return to better form than Mission Impossible 2.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But it was J.J. Abrams taking over this franchise.
What makes this entertaining is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He is a terrific bad guy.
Oh, man. It's a wonder he hasn't played bad guys more often after this.
Yeah, he's so good in this.
I'm going to make him hurt.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make... What's your wife's name? Yeah, I'm just going to make him hurt.
Tom Cruise is walking around in that hospital parking lot after he's thrown Philip Seymour Hoffman from the plane, and he gets the call, and he answers, and he's like, "Hello," and he's like, "You threw me off a plane." That's the first thing he says. But yeah, I'm with Jeremy on this one because J.J. Abrams took this and said, "Let's make Alias only with Ethan Hunt."
Yeah, very much.
And that's what this movie is. Everything about it. He's dating. He's got all these weird excuses for what he does at his work and all that. And I loved Alias, but I just didn't want to see it in this movie.
No, I agree with you. It's not bad, and it's way better than 2. But when 4 and 5 come along, it blow this one way the hell out of the water.
Absolutely. But it did kind of set it back on the same path because you could see that franchise going the John Woo direction of just over-the-top visuals, stunts, all that stuff. And it righted the ship at least a little bit.
There was a time where before this J.J. Abrams one, where even though I hated the John Woo Mission Impossible 2, I liked the idea of a huge director with a vastly different style doing each episode, because we'd had Brian De Palma do the first one, and then John Woo comes in and does its John Woo thing, and then we could have like a Fincher Mission Impossible or like a Spielberg. I don't know. It was never going to happen, and I'm pretty happy with what they're doing now.
Well, it pretty much did, right? Brad Bird and then Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah, but then now we're going to get McQuarrie again, which I'm totally fine with because he hit it out of the park. But yeah, it did kind of go down that path a little bit.
Another movie that came out in 2006 that I don't think either of you have watched, and you definitely need to, is called The Lives of Others. One best foreign language film of 2006. And it's about a guy in the 80s East Berlin who's spying on this couple. And it has so many great revelations in it and everything. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is such a good movie, and it's going to be up there in my voting when we get down to it, because it is absolutely fabulous.
This has popped up on like every recommendation list, like from Netflix or Amazon that I've ever had. It's like, you should watch this movie. I just haven't.
And well, it's one of those movies when you see the title and you're like, do I really want to? Do I have enough time to get into this right now? Because find the time, because this movie's magnificent, and I can't recommend it enough.
Wow, that is a heavy recommendation.
Yeah,
I will give a similarly not heavy recommendation, but a thumb up to Blood Diamond.
Yeah.
I only ever saw this in the first place because I went on this Leonardo run where I decided this guy is one of the best actors going around, and I'm going to see everything of his that I've never seen. And so Blood Diamond, I actually watched it on a plane, and I fell in love immediately. It's such a great story. Jimon Hunsu is amazing in this movie. You can quibble with accents here or there if you want. I've never been to South Africa or anywhere in Africa, but Leo's accent rings pretty true to me.
It sounds great.
And
whatever he's going for, he gets it consistent at least.
What's funny about his accent, though, is that in the trailer, I thought this is going to be fucking awful.
Yeah.
Then I watched it and I was like, no, this is really good. But they in the trailer, they always got those worst things that he said or whatever, and it made it sound cartoony.
Yeah.
And everything. But then I watched it, I was like, this guy's really good in this. He actually got nominated for this, did not get nominated for The Departed.
Wow. That's a crime, actually. He's better in The Departed.
Yeah, he is. But this is how they got Leo a nomination. Was to, you know, whatever, give him that. But.
And it gets a little preachy at the end with the tacked on ending that isn't really tacked on, but that's where you really realize, boy, this movie wants me to think differently about diamonds. For sure.
Well, I know I had never thought about it before this movie came out.
Well, no, and I hadn't either, and I think that's the point. And my wife is not a big jewelry person anyway, but she's like, her engagement ring has like 5 super tiny stones in a line. She didn't want anything gaudy, but after this movie, she said, "Don't ever buy me a diamond again."
Well, Chris has a big collection of diamonds.
Indeed.
I don't know if you knew, but
no, are they uncut and in the fish tank?
They're uncut in the fish tank.
You know what uncut?
And they're all conflict free.
They look just like regular rocks.
Also, The Pursuit of Happiness came out. I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, I think some people were kind of back and forth on it, but especially since it's Will Smith and his kid.
But it's way before Jaden got a little kooky.
Yeah.
After Earthed.
He's just cute here.
Yeah. But I really enjoy these type of stories where the underdog, it's not that they have some sort of physical prowess or whatever that gets them out of their situation. They actually have smarts that get them out of their situation. Get them out of their situation, and this, of course, it takes him forever. He's has to go through a lot of stuff in this movie, but when he finally does get to that point, it's such an emotionally great moment.
It is,
and because what he went through and all this, but yeah, I just love it when characters are smart and they're just like that diamond in the rough, like this guy is. But you see him man. You want to reach out into the screen and give that guy money, man. Yeah. And like, y'all here, just do something with it.
Get off that bathroom floor.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, it's got one of those titles too. They spelt happiness with the Y and everything, in which obviously on purpose, but then everybody has to point out, well, the title of the movie misspelled happiness, and like like there's a point where Will Smith. The reason why the movie is titled that is because somebody wrote it on a wall and on a school wall, and he's like, they misspell happiness out there, right? Of course, by doing that kind of ironic thing, you fucked up your own title or whatever. Also, what do you guys think of Deja Vu?
Okay, so it's redonkulous.
Yes, it is.
But I like watching it.
I love it.
It's one of the most preposterous time travel premises of all time.
Yeah. Yes.
But I don't care. That's not. I enjoy Denzel so much, and Val Kilmer's good in this.
Yeah.
And I get wrapped up in the Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel's really creepy in this.
Yeah.
He's like the silent killer from the past that we're trying to look through this device to see before we send Denzel's entire body through it.
Yeah.
But I really, really like it. I like the way it sort of gives us different perspectives the way they use that machine, almost Minority Report-ish, to squiggle in and out of buildings and rooms and show us what was going on. It's fascinating, but it's not good.
Yeah, one of the many Tony Scott, Denzel Washington movies. But yeah, I really enjoy it. It's one of those. This is one that this is candy. This is candy.
It's not good for you.
Yeah. But it's fun to watch.
Good for you.
It's fun to watch.
That's what I had to take the candy analogy all the way through.
Yeah.
I also just looked at my list and realized Will Ferrell was on fire this year because he was the voice of the man with the yellow hat in Curious George.
Oh,
which is an animated movie that escaped almost all audiences. I don't know too many people in my social circles that ever saw it. My wife and I fell in love with it because of that quirky Will Ferrell kind of humor. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend. Jack Johnson does all the music.
Yeah, great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. It's like 73 minutes long, in and out. And I just like it a lot. I wish they would have made another one.
Darren Aronofsky made The Fountain this year. That movie has its followers. It's kind of interesting.
They're named Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz.
Yes. It's interesting. I really, really like Darren Aronofsky as a filmmaker. And then this movie came out, and I was really excited about it. It's visually stunning.
Yeah.
But it just never connected with me.
You didn't like it?
No.
Do you feel like you got it?
Not sure that I did.
I don't know if I did.
Not sure that I did.
I've watched it probably 2 or 3 times, and I still... Yeah, there's ties within each of the vignettes and all the different worlds and everything, but I just don't. It doesn't hit me like intellectually or emotionally or anything.
Yeah, no, and then of course he's going to do The Wrestler after this. That hits me on all levels.
Yeah.
So I always view this as kind of a misstep. Requiem for a Dream is amazing. It's just hard for me to watch again. Then this one is forgettable, but all the rest of his stuff I've been really impressed with.
Yeah. Have you guys seen The Good Shepherd?
Yeah, I just saw it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, this is a pretty good movie.
Matt Damon and Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, Matt Damon. Yeah, it's De Niro directed it too. It's not. I'm not coming out and saying that you should just need to go watch this now, drop everything or whatever. But give this a chance. It's a pretty good movie.
It's an old timey spy kind of cloak and dagger kind of thing.
Yeah,
really. And who can you believe? It actually reminds me a lot of the trailers I'm seeing for this new Brad Pitt, Marion Cotillard movie. So if that looks interesting to you, you might enjoy The Good Shepherd.
Yeah. Also in 2006, The Host came out. Have you guys seen The Host?
Nope.
It's not great by any means, but it's fun.
Oh, this is the guy that will do Snowpiercer later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I need to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just a fun movie. I would just, whenever you have a chance, watch it. Rocky Balboa came out in 2006.
I'm not.
It was, you know what? I want to talk about it a little bit because this kind of resurrected Stallone for a bit.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible either. But I feel like this movie got made because Rocky V happened.
Yeah.
And he felt really bad about Rocky V.
And of course it comes out, 20 years too late.
Yeah.
To really save it. I don't know how they made this fight believable
right.
between Rocky and Mason the Lion Dixon.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of but you kind of buy into that final fight.
I'm like I shouldn't be believing this, but I'm believing this. But yeah, just wanted to mention that because it was just it was weird. Like you don't expect much from it, so that's why
I think that's why it was. I mean, you're just like you're like the other characters in the movie where they're like, well, he's washed up. There's no way that this could happen. There's no way that. And then he gets in there, and actually, of course, he's all roided out.
Yeah, man. I mean,
every vein in his chest is visible.
His veins are crazy in that movie. But this sort of like got him back because then like you got another Rambo after this because of that.
And the Expendables takes off.
Yeah. Also in 2006, Lady in the Water.
Oh yeah, you had an interesting experience with this, right?
I liked the movie when I watched it. Now I haven't seen it since.
You should probably not. Just leave it right there.
Yeah. There is like I've discussed this before. When you're working at movie theaters late at night and you watch something at midnight, a lot of times it's just the way you're feeling. You're either tired or whatever. I was in this very like clear state when I watched this movie. and like wasn't paying attention to really like whether it was good or bad or anything like that. And I'm not saying anything coded, like I wasn't smoking weed or something like that. I was just watching it and just going, man, I kind of dig the way this is and everything.
Well, you're a big Giamatti fan too.
And I am a big Giamatti fan, and so I liked it. And I like the Bob Balaban character that a lot of people hated about this movie because M. Night Shyamalan's basically like exorcising his demons through that character because he's a miserable bastard, and so whatever. But there's just a part in there where Giamatti's like, "How'd you like the movie?" And he's like, "Sucked." But anyway, just wanted to mention that one.
I got another question for you. What did you guys think of the Miami Vice reboot?
Well, it's interesting because coming off the heels of Collateral, I had pretty high expectations for this.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Mann was actually one of the original creators of the show Miami Vice, or the director or showrunner or something. I think it's totally forgettable.
Yeah.
I think it's totally forgettable. And here's the deal.
Except for Colin Farrell's hair.
This is Bad Boys without humor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you take all the humor out of the Bad Boys movies, what you'd be left with is this movie. And it's not very fun to watch.
I know people who like this, but man, when I watched it, there was no joy in it whatsoever that I could discern from it. Especially, I mean, I know you're taking a really silly show from the 80s here, and you're trying to make it, gritty reboot and everything. But it just seemed like it drained all of that joy from it and everything.
Yeah, that's what people liked about the show, is that it was light. It's in Miami. You got Don Johnson and everything, and there was none of this. It's like they set the dial like 20% too dark,
right?
In all levels.
Yeah. And Colin Farrell going, "I'm a fiend for mojitos." Sure you are.
Fuck that guy's hair.
A very strange movie came out in 2006, Black Snake Moan.
Yeah, I like this movie.
I do too.
This is Samuel Jackson and Christina
and
Ricci.
Justin Timberlake again.
And Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. Just an unusual movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Christina Ricci is a girl who goes a little bit crazy.
Uh-huh.
When she drinks?
I think that exacerbates it, but she's got this demon.
Yeah, she got this demon.
And
Samuel Jackson's like this Bible thumping, like backwoods guy,
blues man,
who chains her to a radiator in his house or something, and then basically just it's so weird, man.
It is. It is. It's got one of those scenes that should not work for me because it's so on the nose and it's so over the top. But like when he plugs that guitar in and he starts playing that Black Snake Moan song, and she just inches over and just basically, because it's storming outside and everything, when you hear that crash of thunder and she grabs his leg and the power goes out for a second, he just launches into this riff, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out, but it's one of those just very, very like B movie, find this shit on Netflix sometime type of thing. And if you're a fan of Christina Ricci,
I am.
You will definitely like this. But Samuel Jackson was also in another snakes themed movie called Snakes on a Plane, which was this the first time where we realized the internet had some power?
It was one of the first times.
Because when they made this movie, it was supposed to be serious. And then somebody on the internet did something where they imitated Samuel Jackson saying something about these motherfucking snakes on these motherfucking plane, because that's what Samuel Jackson's known for, is the motherfucking this and motherfucking that. Unfortunately, that's sometimes, for some people, that's the only thing he's known for. But they went back and reshot just so that they could put a lot of that campy shit in there. And the movie's not good at all.
No, and it's one of those movies, I don't think he made much money. I think it was like the internet loved the idea of it more than the idea of going to see it.
Going to see it.
But let's, for just 2 seconds, stick with the snake theme we accidentally have running here and talk about Rescue Dawn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Similarly to Leo, I went on a run where I realized Christian Bale is one of our best working actors. I better see everything he's made that I've never seen. And Rescue Dawn was one of those movies. And inexplicably, this is a drama with Steve Zahn, Jeremy Davies, and Christian Bale as POWs in Vietnam.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah. And the only reason it's a snake movie is when he finally escapes at the end. He kills a snake and takes a bite out of it. Like, he doesn't cook it or anything. Like, he's so starved and everything. It's such an unsettling scene. The movie's got plenty of unsettling moments. Yeah. But it's not a comedy, even though Steve Zahn is here. I enjoyed it, but it's weird as hell.
Yeah, enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Another really, I thought, pretty good movie was Little Children.
Oh yeah.
And
this is a really, really good movie.
Yeah, it's an adultery drama, basically.
My favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to also mention, because I showed you this trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer with the train all the way throughout is one of the best trailers I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
It's fantastic. But the movie itself is pretty good too. I think it's a little bit too much, but it's overall really good. Slither, James Gunn's beam, and talk about another snake movie here.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's more of a monster or whatever.
Was this the Project Greenlight movie?
No.
Oh,
the Feast.
Yeah, Feast came out, I believe, in the previous year. But no, this was James Gunn. He did this. But it's another one. We're talking about Nathan Fillion here. He's really, really good in this. A movie that has gotten a cult following that I really enjoy and probably shouldn't is Grandma's Boy. There is a part in here that is so funny to me because he's like jerking off. The main guy in this is jerking off, and his friend's mom walks in, and he's like, I can't stop. It feels so good. But it's gotten this following over the years.
I think that's from like the 1 a.m. viewings on Comedy Central, because that's on all the time.
Yes, it is definitely a weed smokers type movie. We mentioned the Queen. Do you want anything else about that?
Helen Mirren is terrific.
She is.
I mean, she's, when you watch this and you go back and you watch the stuff that she was previously in, like from the 60s all the way up, she's awesome in everything almost, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, great performance.
Yeah. Two of the worst movies I've ever seen, The Covenant and The Wicker Man, both came out in 2006.
Wicker Man, not the bees.
Yeah.
Not the bees.
Not the bees. Not the bees. All right. Anything else? A Scanner Darkly came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. They used that rotoscoping thing that they used in Waking Life.
Richard Linklater. I saw this once. I liked it okay. I think there's some people who really love this movie, but
this was a Philip K. Dick
novel,
right?
Yeah. Philip K. Dick adaptation. Crank came out in 2006.
You mean the Transporter 3?
Yeah, well, no, I don't go that far. I think that Crank is now, it's definitely not a movie that I would espouse, like, hey, let's all start making movies like Crank. But it is just a batshit insane movie. And if you're going to make a movie like this, make it like this, because it's like, we know we're insane. We know that nothing makes sense. We know that this is just adrenaline, pumping through Jason Statham throughout the whole thing. Just make it crazy as possible. And that's what they did. And that's why I like Crank.
I don't know how long this movie is, but it feels like it's like 60 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
It just goes by like a breath of air.
The Last King of Scotland sort of introduced us to James McAvoy and everything. Forrest Whitaker, obviously very good, won the Oscar for that. And yet another adaptation of Charlotte's Web came out in 2006 with Dakota Fanning. Hollywoodland came out. This is sort of a Ben Affleck comeback, because he sort of went into that, Benifer that purgatory that was going on. And this was directed by a Sopranos guy, Alan Coulter. But Ben Affleck plays George Reeves, the guy who played the original Superman. And he's very good in this. And I sort of think that got him back onto the map, and he was able to get Gone Baby Gone going and all this other type of stuff. I don't know what the whole ordering of all this was, but it sort of got him back into...
That's the Josh Hartnett one? Hollywoodland?
I think that's the Black Dahlia.
You're right. That's the Black Dahlia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black Dahlia was another James Ellroy adaptation Brian De Palma did that I thought had that's like perfect symmetry to me, and that movie was not good. I don't think the book. I never read the book, but I don't think people who read the book really liked it either, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Hollywoodland. Ben Affleck's really good in that, and I would recommend that. Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. Clint Eastwood did both of those World War II dramas. I thought Flags of Our Fathers was not that. It wasn't all that interesting, but Letters from Iwo Jima certainly was.
Do you think you could have made one of them great if you'd just made one? I get what he was going for, with showing sort of both sides of that conflict, and I respect that. But I always felt like both movies suffered a little in quality because of how stretched thin he was.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, Letters from Iwo Jima out of that group is the one that I would watch, because that's the one that's like really like impactful to me. Pedro Almodovar's Volver came out in 2006. Really good movie. Dreamgirls came out in 2006. I didn't like that very much at all. I felt like Jennifer Hudson won her Oscar based on a singing performance.
Sure she did.
Like it was like, like I don't think she was bad in the movie or anything. I just felt like I'm telling you I'm not going and all that. That was the song. That song just basically won her the Oscar.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all.
But the movie itself, I wasn't really interested in.
Weird with Eddie Murphy, right?
Yeah, weird turn by Eddie Murphy in this.
Yeah, and for a while people were saying like this is going to get him back. Clearly it did not.
No.
A couple of minor comedies that I really like: Beer Fest and Clerks 2. I like Beer Fest a lot.
Yeah, that is fun.
Just a fun Broken Lizard movie. Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. Clerks 2, I mean, I've heard Kevin Smith say that he likes this better than his original Clerks.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, I don't, but I like a lot of moments in it and everything, especially the little Lord of the Rings, Star Wars debate that's in there. Also want to mention Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, a horror movie that takes all the tropes of horror movies and has characters very aware of it and making a documentary about it. And this girl's going around like actually interviewing the killer as he's like, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And all that's a really fun movie. If you're a horror fan, especially, watch that. You have two magic movies. You have The Illusionist.
Yeah, I almost brought that up.
And you have Scoop, which wasn't really a magic movie, but Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And it was again Scarlett Johansson and Hugh Jackman in the same movie.
Interesting.
And I kind of actually like Scoop, but it wasn't a big.
The Illusionist is fun. It's nothing like The Prestige.
No, it really isn't.
But that's got Paul Giamatti in it and Ed Norton.
Yeah,
Jessica Biel.
Yeah. And Southland Tales is another one. Richard Kelly, we thought Richard Kelly was going to be such a big force after Donnie Darko.
He got the cast for this one.
He sure did. You got The Rock, you got Justin Timberlake, you got a ton of Sarah
Michelle Gellar's in that movie.
Yeah. And I remember watching this. It's just a befuddling movie.
Yeah, it really is.
But Justin Timberlake is a great in it. He's got that Killers cover in there. It's awesome. All right. So there's a few others that I would want to mention, I guess, if we were had a little bit more time, but let's go ahead and vote.
All right. Today's order is Chris, Barrett, and Jeremy.
I relish the chance for my vote to not count.
Yeah. This is a tough year, man.
It is.
I'm going to have to go with the movie I've seen most out of all this group, and that's going to be The Prestige.
Oh, interesting.
And I've seen The Prestige quite a bit of time. So, and it's just like Jeremy was talking about, like you see something every time that makes you appreciate it more. I think that it's possible that, that this movie isn't nearly as, not nearly, but this isn't as good as some other ones that I could probably pick, but it's the one that I have watched the most and enjoy the most, probably. So I'm going to go with that.
I can respect that pick.
Yeah. Children of Men for me. This movie hits everything. It's a masterpiece.
Yes, it is.
It's probably in my top 5 of all time. It's for everything that we were saying about the unbroken shots, the tension, the Clive Owen, even Julianne Moore in kind of a smaller role. I love every bit of this. So that's my pick.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go another round because my pick is Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yep.
Nice.
No, there you go.
Children of Men.
We didn't even talk about Fast and Furious.
Children of Men is the winner.
All right. Yay.
And I would call The Prestige my more favorite movie, but I think Children of Men is just like 0.5% more of filmmaking achievement. It's 1A and 1B. I went round and round and round. I wasn't even sure until about an hour before I got here.
Well, and it would have been my second choice. So like,
and Prestige was my second choice.
We would have eventually gotten Children of Men on this. I'm pretty sure.
It's interesting because The Departed. We all love The Departed, but I mean, it's just, and it's a great, great movie. It's way up there with not only this year but that decade. But it's just not, for whatever reason, in the class of those two, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny, and maybe we'll have this discussion at some point. But I remember somebody asked me, maybe on Twitter, maybe on Reddit, like, what did I think the best movie was post-2000? And I ended up saying Children of Men for a bunch of different reasons, but I couldn't find anything to put up against that since the year 2000 that I thought was better. And I think, well, we may talk about this here in a bit, but it's going to go down all time as one of the great classics.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that post-apocalyptic note, we are going to be talking about Post-Apocalypse.
Centuries later, few people remain on this planet once called Earth.
Judgment Day is inevitable.
Silhouettes when our bodies finally go. All I know is the child is my warrant. And if he is not the word of God, then God never spoke. This is the end. Keep on dancing till the world ends. Earthquakes toppled cities within hours. Tsunamis wiped out what remained. Then came the invasion. It's the end of the world as we know it.
Now, you know, we're living in some strange times.
Yes, we are.
We're in a divided country. And, you know, and it feels like one side or the other is going to eventually just like blow up one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to talk about like our favorite post-apocalyptic movies today. And who wants to take this one away?
I'll take it. This topic came to me when I was thinking about the post-election rhetoric about how, you know, things are really going to just go to hell. We had just recently done the X-Men Apocalypse movie too. And it was a trending video on YouTube up to number 4, even in the midst of all this post-election stuff. Yeah. So it's clear that people were Googling Apocalypse in addition to the people that usually watch it. But I love these kind of movies. And I can point to a direct reason why. I love, not that I want to see this in real life, but I love the concept of hitting a reset button and starting from scratch. And for that reason, I don't really like the zombie post-apocalyptic movies all that much. I like more of like the, you know, the virus has wiped everybody out. We're back to square one. What do we do?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
What do you do?
Yeah. Where we're not running from things and that kind of thing. And for that reason, like I love, this goes back to, I think, an actual TV movie that was more of a miniseries, but Stephen King's The Stand.
Yeah.
Which was yearning to be cinematically adapted. So they did it in this miniseries with Gary Sinise and Rob Lowe and a few other, you know, pretty, you know, middle of the road actors. And it's cheesy, it's dated, but I love it.
Yeah.
I actually watched it, I think last year all the way through, and just the concept of the virus taking out everybody, you know, they show all that buildup of like how people would react in the moment, the chaos and everything. And just what they do, and sets up this big conflict between good and evil at the end. But those beats in between it where they're just like walking and they're trying to figure out, you know, how do we rebuild this whole thing? And there's other movies that have done it like that, but that's my favorite like subgenre of this.
I haven't seen the miniseries. I did read the book a long time ago. So I can't remember So these people are survivors, and they don't know why they've survived it.
They're immune to the virus.
Yeah, they're immune to Is that just a given, or do they just kind of like?
Yeah, it's a given. I mean, because Gary Sinise's character, I forget his actual name, is actually in quarantine for forever. It actually happens to Matt Damon's character in Contagion too, where he's just like, you know, I just have the antibody or whatever. But it's very rare. It's like 1% or 2% of the population survives this whole thing. That's just kind of the way they explain it.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed the, you know, how are you going to survive this? Because now all your infrastructure is down. There's, you know, you can't go to a hospital, you can't go to a store anymore. You have to, like, you know, you have to fend for yourself and everything. But there's There's another sort of kind of apocalyptic movie along these lines, and there's 3 of them that I'm thinking of here. Lars von Trier's Melancholia, which is about another world or planet about to crash into the Earth, and everybody sort of like living their lives in the last few days and everything. Kirsten Dunst is in it, and it's just very interesting. Like, all right, how are you going to spend your life when you know when the date is going to be?
Yeah,
and all these little things that you think are important aren't really that important anymore. But there's 3 of them. There's another movie in 1998 called Last Night that talks about it's about a bunch of people who know that the Earth's about to end, so they're trying to do all the things that they can do before it blows up or whatever it's going to do. But the one that I really want to talk about is Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It's got Steve Carell and Keira Knightley in it. I really love this movie, and it didn't get much of an audience.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Steve Carell plays a guy, his wife's left him, and he's depressed about it and all this other type of stuff. And he's like, and people are like, stop being depressed about it. The world's ending. Go and find other people and everything. He's like, I can't find other people. I can't just do that. He sort of gets into Keira Knightley's life and everything, and of course she's so appealing and everything. But yeah. I love this movie because it's, you see these 2 characters who are in Steve Carell still like in love with his former wife, and Keira Knightley's in a relationship, but they're on this road movie basically. And they're obviously like, falling for each other, but at the same time, the world's about to end. So what good is it? But then, there's like a lot of that discussion, like, what does it matter whether or not, you're going to cheat on your boyfriend or whatever at this point? That's, sort of raises those type of questions. Also got a batshit insane restaurant scene in this too. That's so funny. It's like, they go to like a TGI Fridays or something like that, and the wait staff is all drunk and just like doing conga lines and all that type of stuff. It's fantastic. So anyway.
Why'd they even go to work?
Yeah. They're just having a party, man.
I tend to be a sucker for the more traditional look and feel, like desert wasteland, post-apocalypse movies. Like Wall-E was the first thing that came to my mind for this question, because we start out and all of humanity except those on the ship it's been wiped out. It sort of suggests maybe the possibility that everyone got off the planet and there was more than one ship or whatever, but Earth is a wasteland, and Wall-E is the last entity on the planet until Eve shows up. And of course, humans got off the planet, got really lazy, got really fat and blubbery over the evolution of generations. But I just love the notion of the end of this movie when they come back and put the plant back in the ground. I feel like it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, they're a bunch of shitheads. They're idiots, but they're going to figure it out because they can grow food. And I just love Wall-E, so I just had to work in a mention of that.
Well, no, love it.
And the other huge barren wasteland apocalypse story is Mad Max Fury Road.
Well, yeah.
Or Mad Max in general, but I mean, the original Mad Max and then The Road Warrior were both really good.
Yeah.
But this blows it out of the water, right?
Yeah, Fury Road is just an achievement.
Yeah.
I've heard this described as life after the post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like in post-apocalyptic stories, the thing that happened has just happened. It's like a year away, like it happened a year ago, or it happened just now, or whatever. This is life many years after the apocalypse and everything, and it shows how, it's almost it's another sort of like interesting window into the future if things keep going the way that they go and everything like that. That's sort of the secret messages out of Mad Max Fury Road. Is like, while you're sitting there enjoying this, you're realizing there's some things in there, like water is a scarce entity.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
The opposite of Waterworld.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about Waterworld?
Oh, I fucking love it. It's terrible. And it's very much the same. Like it's long after the apocalypse has happened, and these people have all just gotten used to, we're all living on water, except for the rumored dry land.
Yeah.
Which one would have to guess is like Everest, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It'd have to be like one of the highest points in the world elevation-wise. it's a fun, bad apocalypse movie. Then you're going to get The Postman after this, which is not a fun. This is 3.5 hours of cheese, like processed American cheese, to the point at the end where the older guy, points at the statue of the postman taking a letter from a little boy and says, "That was me." It's awful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like it because I liked Waterworld so much, but there's almost nothing redeemable about The Postman.
Well, in our quest to talk about Children of Men virtually every segment
Yeah.
in this episode,
Yeah.
that is such a clever method of a post-apocalyptic world. It's not in the general sense of like everybody's dead or anything like that, but it's like Britain is one of the only places in the world where you can actually come with some sort of infrastructure, right? That's why they have all these refugees coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
because, you know, it looked like New York was destroyed. They go through all the cities that were destroyed and everything. But Britain is the paragon of, and of course it's all like militaristic and everything. And they are horrible to these refugees. It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that concept that, you know, there's something that has happened that we're not sure about. Like there's not any answer to what's going on or whatever. That's a great concept though. Just nobody's giving birth anymore.
Yeah.
There's no children, there's no more children and everything. And it's just something that really gets your mind going a lot of times. And they never explain.
No, it just is.
It just is.
I mean,
there's this one miracle baby that's in this whole thing, and like that's a curiosity in of itself.
Yeah.
And
well, she even says like when he's like, "Who's the father?" She's like, "Oh, I'm a virgin."
Yeah.
Because you actually may have guessed that was the case.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, when an apocalyptic movie has a concept like this, that's where I really get on board with it. It's kind of like Mad Max Fury Road, type of thing. That it's really after the post-apocalypse and everything. We had talked about it before, but I love the idea that this is what the world is like, and it sort of like teaches you to be like you shouldn't take the things that you have for granted. Can you imagine
something as simple as giving birth?
Yeah,
right?
can you imagine if this thing that is normal everyday stuff was scarce and it's a scary proposition, and it's something that I feel like, even though it's not likely to happen in our lifetimes or anything, it's something that very well could happen. And it's, maybe not the children never being born. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
who knows? Maybe there's some sort of genetic mutation that happens.
Absolutely.
Because,
yeah. When you ground it in some sort of reality, and the cool thing about it is that it explores all the themes that could come off of that, like the uprising of these factions that are against the government and everything. And then you have the first scene is just going about everyday life, where he's going in for a cup of coffee, basically going to his job and everything. And, that's the kind of thing that I love, is seeing how people would react to this crazy shit happening.
Yeah, absolutely. For whatever reason, when we talked about the island and stuff like that last week, I think about those every once in a while as post-apocalyptic. Now, Logan's Run definitely is. Logan's Run is definitely post-apocalyptic because they're in a place that once they break out of it, and that's not really like giving away anything. Of course, it's like a 40-year-old movie, but but once they break out of it, they see all this stuff that's been overgrown, and like I think there's like one person still living out there or whatever, but there's like this. It's just, I mean, Logan's Run is just I just love those type of movies where they they have this, they're all living in this one space. They're not allowed to go out. Why are they not allowed to go out? And when they finally do break out, they see the truth of their world around them and everything. The island and the movie we also talked about, the Never Let Me Go, has that sort of, it's not really apocalypse though. It's more like they've been told that the apocalypse has happened.
Yeah.
Or something bad has happened. And does it really, it's kind of an interesting thing to ask. Does it really qualify as post-apocalypse? If they think it is, and their lives are that, but then they find a greater truth. I think that's almost post-apocalypse.
Yeah, and I guess that would be the same for Snowpiercer too. But you have to, the ones that succeed on this is showing it from a singular perspective. You can't do it like World War Z, where you see everything happening at once, or even Contagion to a certain degree, because there's so many people involved with it, so many different perspectives. When you get it from somebody who, in some like 28 Days Later, where you wake up and you're experiencing and you're learning all this stuff with the viewer, that's where it's really cool, instead of just throwing it at you all at the same time.
Yeah.
A weird movie that I watched late at night, and it's kind of what you were talking about. Melancholia is similar to, but it's called 444: The Last Day on Earth, and this is Willem Dafoe shacked up with this woman who's a painter, I think, and they're just basically hanging out, waiting for the end of the world. It's going to happen like in an hour or 2 or 3 or something like that. And it's such a weird perspective. You don't get really any information from the outside world or anything. You just know that these characters are living their last few hours. And Willem Dafoe will like go out on the rooftop of this apartment, and he'll see somebody just jumping off the roof.
Oh, wow.
And it's weird because you expect stuff like that to happen, but he has this visceral reaction of like, no, wait! And really just let him do it, basically, right?
Yeah.
I like that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, when talking about these other movies where they're trying to, you know, they're living out their last days and everything, it's very interesting to think about what you would do in those.
Yeah.
Really, there's no rules at that point, right? There's no laws you have to really worry about. That's why, like, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World has that great moment where there's a cop who's just sitting there. He actually still doing his job, like pulling people over for speeding. And they're like telling him, like, isn't this kind of stupid, you know, that you're doing this still? And he doesn't even think about it, because I guess he loves that job and that's all he's going to do for the rest of his days.
Well, there's a book series called The Last Policeman that's about that, where a guy like actually ends up investigating a crime and investigating like a disappearance or murder mystery that involves his sister. And they've got this comet or asteroid or something like that that's going for the Earth, and they know it's going to happen. They know we're going to die and all that stuff. But he goes about this thing, and everybody keeps asking him, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Just let it go. And he's like, well, what else am I going to do to the world?
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that. It's so much better than something like Armageddon.
Yeah. Well, and those movies are the trying to prevent the apocalypse from happening or whatever. Like, I mean, I guess in a way, those are apocalyptic movies because it's supposed to happen again at some point where it's mathematically certain that we will be hit by an asteroid.
Yeah.
We just don't know when that's going to be or whatever. So we're all really kind of living that like pre-apocalypse, aren't we?
We're in a pre-apocalypse
right now.
Maybe
somehow.
a billion years, but it's it
might be a while, but yeah, it's I don't think, you know, they don't qualify, but they do have sort of those themes, like, you know, end of the world could happen if they don't solve the problem or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, it's basically like, well, of course, every one of these freaking movies, they've dug an underground bunker series of tunnels that only like the elite or the best of the best can go into. I'm just like, man, or the arcs like in 2012.
Right.
Screw that.
Well, it's the same. I guess it's the same thing with the Doctor Strangelove and everything, where it's another sort of pre-apocalypse, and then at the end of it, the apocalypse is underway basically by the time it's over. But I love in Doctor Strangelove just the discussions between these very elite white men who are saying there's going to be 10 females for every male down in this bunker and everything. And of course they'll be selected for their attractiveness and, you know, whatever, that type of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and just the idea that the U.S. would, you have George C. Scott, who apparently didn't know he was in a comedy. I'll never understand that story, by the way. But George C. Scott in there, I love the part where they're talking about how what if the Russians have a mine shaft that's going to go deeper? It's going to let them survive even better than we do. And it's like, Mr. President, we cannot allow a mine shaft gap. You keep talking about these gaps between the Americans and the Russians, like who's got the edge and everything. And it's a mine shaft. It's one of the funniest fucking things in that movie. I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, Is The Matrix the best post-apocalyptic movie ever made, do you think?
Yeah, but the problem is people will fight you on whether or not people are going to want to classify that as sci-fi more than post-apocalyptic, and we spend so much time in the computers.
But the real world is,
it's a wasteland.
It's a wasteland, and it's they have destroyed the sky and all this other type of stuff, and but also by the end of this trilogy, you're like, oh, they're just redoing it over and over and over again and everything. So like the real world really starts to become, I don't know. But yeah, I would actually, I would actually put the Terminator as far as like, if you're talking about post-apocalypse and everything, I think the Terminator is better than the Matrix in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love the Terminator so much because it's another one of those movies. Like, it's your reliance on technology and everything is going to eventually wipe you out because, there's a lot of discuss. I mean, I've seen a lot of articles about these self-driving cars and stuff like that, where like, that because they follow the rules of the road so much, there's a real danger to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's iRobot, right?
Yeah, exactly. But these robots are only programmed to do what you tell them to do, and if they start learning and all that, and it's a scary proposition and everything. So, like, I think the Terminator really is. I mean, in this category is better than the Matrix.
Yeah. I mean, that covers like the two big robots, machines taking over. Thing. What about aliens taking over, like Independence Day?
That's not a post-apocalyptic movie.
It's an apocalyptic movie, though, right?
It's a near-apocalyptic movie.
It's like War of the Worlds is an apocalyptic movie.
It's a near-apocalyptic movie. But not enough people die in either one of those
movies. How many people have to die to make it apocalyptic?
A couple billion?
I think the entire infrastructure of the world itself has to go away before you call it an apocalyptic movie, a post-apocalypse. You have to have zero ways of going to buy anything, or you're fending on the lay of the land at that point. You're having to get food based on what you can actually hunt and kill, and stuff like that. Kind of like The Road, which is
The Road,
devastatingly
hard to watch,
very hard to watch,
and a great book. It is a terrific book.
I've never read the book, but I heard it's great.
It's Cormac McCarthy.
Great. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, I know. There's no end in sight with these guys.
Yeah,
and so much so that they lose their humanity. I think Viggo Mortensen's character is the man, and his kid is the boy.
They don't even have names in the script.
They don't describe what happened. They don't describe really, what the whole landscape is. They just are slogging through this road. And yeah, you're right. It is a good movie. It's a really great book, but it's not really easy to watch.
The moment with Michael Kenneth Williams in this movie really will play with your emotions because he has done something horrible to Viggo Mortensen and his kid. But then Viggo Mortensen exacts a revenge that I think is 10 times worse. Yeah. And I've never felt more bad for a character that has done something horrible in a movie than for Michael Kenneth Williams in this movie. It is awful, and he's so good in that scene. That's the one where I was close to crying.
Yeah,
because it's just the way he pleads with him, and everything is just something else. And yeah, it's a tough one to watch. But I'd almost just, if you're just, hate yourself one day, watch this movie.
If you hate yourself one day.
Watch this movie and just realize that it can be worse.
One of the more interesting takes on an end-of-the-world scenario is Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that now it's global warming or an ice age or something that's taken over the world, that they're on this self-perpetuating machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is all of humanity, right? That we know of on this train. And that's a really cool way to put it, to where people are confined to an area, even though it's this terrifically long train. And, they have to interact, and you get the front and the back and all that stuff.
I know what baby tastes like.
Although there are hints in this movie that there are maybe other people out there and everything, because there's the whole talk about...
Isn't there they see a tent or something in
there's animals.
Well, they see animals at the very end, but there's another story that they're telling in the movie where he swears he saw something or somebody or something or something different or whatever. But yes, that is a very interesting take on the apocalypse. Just the idea that they have to be on this thing to survive and everything. And of course they've got that catchy song that they learn.
What happens if the engine stops? We all freeze and die.
That's another movie, by the way. This is a little off topic, but it has a great action scene in it where the train curves around.
Oh, that's terrific.
And you have the main bad guy or the main henchman guy trying to shoot Chris Evans through all just this distance and everything, and it's just very well done. But I love that movie.
I almost brought up Oblivion. Which I don't know that it's a post-apocalyptic movie until we get pretty far into it. But it gives me similar vibes to see the Empire State Building in that movie just barely sticking out the tip of some kind of ash mountain. They can go to the top of the Empire State Building just by walking. They don't have to go up. That kind of shit always fascinates me. Like in Waterworld, when he takes her down to show her the buried underwater buildings, the same kind of thing from AI, I guess. AI would be a post-apocalyptic movie, wouldn't it? No, maybe not. Something happened. There's a whole city's underwater. Something happened.
One more clever take on the apocalypse is This Is the End.
Yeah.
This feels like Ocean's 12 to me, where all these guys just wanted to get together with their buds and make a movie, and this is what they came up with. That being said, it's entertaining to me. I laughed a lot watching it.
A lot of funny in jokes with all the characters ripping on their own movies and all that. It's really fun. Did we talk enough about zombie movies? Really? Did we?
No.
That is the major apocalyptic movie is anything zombies, because it's always the first day that it happens, nobody knows what's going on. The next few weeks, okay, now everybody's hiding in apartment buildings and stuff like that and whatever. But love 28 Days Later, because this is what you're talking about. When Cillian Murphy gets up and goes through London and sees London completely barren, that is an absolutely stunning shot.
Yeah.
And this is something that always gets my, grabs my interest, is to see these worlds that they're living in, that after all this has happened, how are they going to survive? What are they going to think of to do and all that? It always interests me when that happens.
But yeah, all those stuff, you can use zombies for any allegory, which
really?
George Romero used obviously for the Night of the Living Dead and all that stuff. And you can use them as straight up terror, just like The Walking Dead is using them. But, you can also use it as, the rebuilding of humanity while still having to deal with the vestiges of these animated corpses trying to hunt you down.
Yeah. And they also a lot of times have the comment about how we have become zombies and everything. The zombies are no different from the humans that, whatever. It's that type of thing that always happens in these zombie movies. But so those were a few.
Yay!
Yay, apocalypse!
Yay for the apocalypse!
I hope it doesn't happen.
Right.
But if you're in the mood to feel like watching the end of the world or after the end of the world, watch some of these.
Yes.
All right, a little Q&A.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
All right, the first one comes to us from our subreddit, Cinemasins subreddit. Go to it if you want to ask questions. Got some good ones this week. First one is, what movies from 2000 onward do you think will be considered classics in the future? We talked about it a little bit.
Children of Men.
Children of Men is definitely one I think we can all agree that will be considered a classic. One thing I want to get your guys' opinion on, I think people will look back on The Revenant and put it up there with like some of the greatest movies of like the 70s because it was so innovative, it was so well done, it was so immersive. I think it's probably going to become kind of just like an underground classic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I would love that to happen because I would love to see more action sequences shot the way the ones in this movie are. Whether it's when they're trying to get to the boat or when he's riding the horse over the cliff, and you get these one take kind of shots where we're panning around and showing you various things. It's freaking awesome for that. I don't know. I think it could, but I'm not ready to say it will. Because for some reason I feel like it's already sort of had its reputation tarnished a bit because of that Scorsese issue where they gave Leo the Oscar because they were paying him back for all this other. The movie's not actually that good. It was just that. I think there's some of that out there. I disagree, but I think there's some of that out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the method behind it was just so great, and yeah, I think that did factor a lot into the Oscar win because his performance was so silent and everything. He's huddled under this bearskin, but. I mean, just Tom Hardy alone, and like just the fact that they only use natural light for this, right?
Yeah. Well, that was ultimately a production pain in the ass to where Tom Hardy was punching the director at some point. But yes, it's all natural light.
This question sort of makes me think: do they mean like what we do when we look back at The Godfather or something like that? And so, yes, I would probably put stuff like City of God and There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men. We've talked about these ad nauseum, but. One of the movies that I wrote on a list that maybe doesn't quite fit that Godfather model, but I think we will look back on it as a classic is Iron Man.
Oh,
because we're going to look. I think once who knows when this is going to happen, if it'll ever happen, but once these comic book movies go out of favor, and I think there will be a point when that happens, although nothing so far has proven to be, the Achilles heel of these movies.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's going to be a point where we're going to be tired of them and all that other stuff, and people are going to come back to that first Iron Man and go, see, that was just really simple and well done, and that's the way we should make them, and that's sort of what
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, I went back and just recently watched that first scene where they're in the Humvee going to the weapon site with Tony Stark with his drink and everything. That is so much fun.
Yeah.
He's just like, he looks over and he's like, oh, you're a female. I legit did not know that. It's like, you got the bone structure. Like, now I can't stop looking at you. And they're all cracking up. The guy's taking pictures. That's just so much fun that you don't get, especially in opening shots in these things.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very interesting call. And I think you could be right.
Yeah, I mean, those ones that I mentioned before it are obviously going to be, I believe, I mean, they, if not already, considered classics. And like even like stuff like Lord of the Rings, I think is considered classics at this point. But if we want to look at something in just in our very immediate past and everything, that feels like a movie that will have more appreciation over the years than we just currently like. Oh, that was a big blockbuster movie or whatever. But I'm gonna look back at that as really like actually genuinely good or whatever. Not like The Godfather, of course, but
no, but you forget how good it is after you've seen Iron Man so many times. You forget how great that first one is.
Yeah. No, totally.
All right, what fictional spaceship would you like to travel the galaxy with? In.
Just tuck it under my arm.
And are there any characters from sci-fi space universe that you would bring along?
I just get this picture of like a starship holding your hand walking down the beach. People, let me tell you about my best friend.
Who wants to go first?
Starship Enterprise, baby. I'll steal it so you guys can't. And I love me some Millennium Falcon. I love me the ship in Serenity. I love all the ones you guys are going to answer, but I have been a Trek fan for my entire life. And there's something about that ship and its history. I'll take any of them. You can give me the Next Generation one. You can give me the old school one. You can give me the new movies version. But if it says Enterprise, like USS Federation, Starship Enterprise on the outside, it's mine.
You can do anything on that ship.
Well, especially if you get the holodecks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get the Next Generation version, you have holodecks, you have replicators that make all the food you want. You can go up to Warp 9 and travel and visit other places.
Yeah. It's got it all.
Yeah, and it's got the captain's chair. It's got the captain's chair. Not everybody can sit in the captain's chair. Yeah, just me.
Yeah.
And Chris Pine.
Yeah. I am going to go with the Heart of Gold from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, nice.
Just because of the improbability drive. Because I would love to be able to change my circumstance in the weirdest way possible. And that's something that I find, obviously it's a ridiculous thing. Like, you would never really like demand an improbability drive to be on your spaceship or whatever, but there's more to it than just the improbability drive. You have a very personable ship computer on there that is telling you constantly what's going on and what you need to do and the percentages and all that other stuff. But I live in a goofy world, so I want to have Heart of Gold as my ship.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I actually thought about Discovery 1 from 2001 in this because it's a really cool ship. It's really big. You see the guy. It's got that centripetal force thing where the guy can run upside down in circles all day. But I can't do that because Hal would just freak me the fuck out.
Yeah.
But the Hermes in The Martian is a great spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
He goes through that like introduction video where he's like going to the different sections of it and like, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Introducing the ship. And it's awesome. And it's got a good gem on it.
Yeah, it's a full gym. I was just going to say that. I also love the way they go down that main corridor and then sort of like backwards dive into the ladder rooms that by the time they get to the bottom of the ladders, they're so far out, there's gravity there and they can just start walking.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like this is a fairly unique question. I am an architecture student at Kent State in Ohio who is potentially interested in designing film sets. Good for you. Good luck. What films have really stuck out to you as having outstanding sets, especially ones without CG assistance?
Okay, so for me, this begins and ends with Ken Adams' work, who did Doctor Strangelove, and he did the War Room in Doctor Strangelove, which is generally considered the best set of all time by most people. But he's mostly known, I think, for James Bond sets. Way back in the day, the Sean Connery stuff, and almost a lot of the Roger Moore ones, he's done the sets. And like, if almost everywhere they go, any fantastic Spectre lair or anything like that is fucking Ken Adam. And they always look amazing. They always pull you into the film. And I'm always, if he's a film set guy, that's probably like chapter 1. So that I would definitely study that guy if you haven't.
Yeah. I actually made a joke in our Citizen Kane video about, for a movie that features Xanadu, it doesn't Xanadu much.
Yeah.
But I actually love the set of Xanadu in Citizen Kane. Especially, it takes forever to get there, but in that third act where it finally shows you the scope of this, and even when it's full of statues and art and all that stuff, it is just enormous, especially for the time. That's just a terrific set. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with The Matrix, specifically the ship. Because they had to create something that doesn't exist in real life. They had to make it look like it was advanced technology from our current time, but also worn down and used as hell.
Yeah.
There's a grime to all the scenes on that ship. Of course, it's offset by the stylized computer world in The Matrix, but they built all that from scratch. It's not like they went and said, oh, let's go use this submarine and shoot in there. I mean, it actually ends up feeling like an actual ship that they're moving throughout. And so, I'd go that route.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, that'll be it for this week. Keep going to SoundCloud and giving us your comments and telling us how we're doing.
Love hearing them.
Yeah.
Love interacting with people on SoundCloud. Everybody... Even the people who don't like something that we've done, that have a problem with some of our segments, or disagree with our choices on movies and stuff like that, everybody's cordial. It's really fun.
Yeah, I agree. There's something cool about that, because not every community is like that.
Yeah.
Even on the subreddit, you're going to find at least one or two that are a little bit less cordial.
I actually saw you responded. Thanks for stopping by and complaining about it.
Well, he had the silliest complaint ever. It's just that classic, like, when somebody says, this is a stupid article, and somebody else like, well, you read it and then came down here to comment. Anyway.
But, anyway, just keep on giving us your feedback. We love that stuff. And anyway, that'll be it for this week. Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sherrill. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Nice. Wow, that is a heavy recommended.
Chemistry is the study of transformation.
Who was Sid in City of Men? Do you remember? Huh?
Children of Men?
Yeah. What did I say? City
of Men. Which is the sequel to City of God, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. But he looks exactly like Bryan Cranston, like a British Bryan Cranston.
Oh.
He's like, Sid will get you a boat.
Peter Mullen is the guy who played Sid. Oh, and he's been a lot of shit. Braveheart.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Braveheart was one of them. Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle.
Seinfeld. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But then you watch that scene where Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal are by the campfire, and he's like, just goes into this monologue, and he's like, shit, that's the most I've heard you say all week. And he's like, that's the most I said all year.
This thing between you and me.
I love the part right before they fuck where he's like, you're too drunk to go up to them sheep. Because he's like he's like crawling on the ground. I'll go get the sheep now. And Jake Gyllenhaal's in the tent like, you're too drunk to go get them sheep.
Fucking Heath Ledger's accent in that is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I love
We should have seen the Dark Knight performance coming just from that performance, but I don't think I actually saw that movie until after the Dark Knight.
That's the reason why I thought he was going to be good as Joker. And I remember when he was first announced, everybody's like, Heath Ledger, the guy from Brokeback Mountain. I was like, have you seen Brokeback Mountain? Yeah.
What was the other? He was in one more thing. I know 10 Things I Hate About You, but he was in another one that was amazing right before Brokeback, I think.
I can't think of it right off the bat, but I think you might be right.
He was in that. He was Billy Bob Thornton's son in Monsters
Ball. Monsters Ball.
Yeah. Chris, can you talk for 1 second?
Talking for 1 second, man.
That's like 2 seconds.
Sorry, I said 1 second.
Did I fuck it up? I fucked it up, didn't I?
You go through this list. Jaws, Rocky, Annie Hall, Animal House. Animal House is a weird addition there. Alien, Empire, Raiders, E.T., Right Stuff, which is kind of interesting. Amadeus, Back to the Future, Aliens, Untouchables, Die Hard, When Harry Met Sally, Goodfellas, Silence of the Lambs, Few Good Men, Schindler's List, Pulp Fiction, Usual Suspects, Fargo, L.A. Confidential, Out of Sight, Matrix, Almost Famous. I'm honestly still... The Matrix should have won. I know you think it should have won. But that was an interesting pick for 99, I think.
Well, there are a bunch of other movies you would think we would pick first. But it was only The Matrix because that was my first pick, and we went 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think it was our third picks or something. Almost Famous, Homily, City of God, Lost in Translation, Incredibles, Brokeback Mountain. Have you seen this?
Yeah, but again, my arguer inside wants to say that's not a post-apocalyptic movie.
It's The Rapture.
But it's still, I would call it an apocalyptic movie, not post-apocalyptic.
So basically, yeah, they're not living afterwards to experience what.
I'm a dickhead. Go ahead, talk about this movie.